Hi there, and welcome to the Kingdom Sexuality Podcast.
We are Paris
Alana,
and Rusti,
friends who have a heart for intimacy and long to uncover God's truth and design for sexual freedom within marriage. Welcome here. All right, welcome back to another episode, you guys. It's Paris and Rusti and myself, Alana, here, and we're going to be chatting about spicing it up. And it's funny because we've done this episode before, back a long time ago. It was our fourth ever episode that we put out. But now that we've got Rusti here, and since it's been so long, it seemed like a really great time to make Spice It Up 2.0. So we're adding a little bit of spice to your guys' life. And probably our own too, because I'm sure we could all use it. We are not exempt to needing spice in our life.
Just keeping it real.
Right? Yeah. If you've been married for any length of time, you'll know that sex can really easily become a routine. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. There's no, if you are like a routine, love maker, and, it's just kind of, you just do the things every time, like, that's fine. You can get into something that works. And if you guys are both content and you're both happy with it, that's great. Because we're busy people, our list of things to do is never ceasing and never growing. We have to pick the kids up. We got to take out the trash, get food on the table, start spring cleaning, see our friends, remember to drink water. Like, there's so much to do. And so it can be really easy to then, in those spare moments where you are like, oh, right, I also need to have sex with my spouse. It can be really easy to just do the steps, because it's something you got to do. So yeah, I think we can get to a point where, like, okay, I think something needs to change. We got to add some fireworks. I want to feel the butterflies. How? And so many Christian couples I find can feel like that and be like, well, where do I go to find out how? Because if I Google it, I don't know if I'm going to like what I see. I don't know if it's safe to Google this. What are they going to tell me to do? I remember feeling that. I was like, how do I look it up without, in a safe place?
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Welcome to the safe place. We're going to give you a bunch of different ideas and suggestions, and maybe it's things that you've never tried. So give it a shot. So here are some ways you can go about trying to add a little bit of spice to your life.
All right, I'll take number one. All right, so you guys, just like Alana said, we can get so caught up in life. Something that I've really been recently, on a vulnerable moment here with you guys, been really convicted of is just, really seeing sex, our sexuality, intimacy is an ever growing thing in our lives, as spouses. If we're not intentionally moving forward, guarantee things are going to stagnate or we're going to move backwards, right? And that's kind of just how it is. And so I just want to leave you with a word of encouragement in this, that if you are in a place where you're feeling super stuck, or you're really discouraged, or you're not feeling like you are living within a thriving sex life with your spouse, we just want to encourage you in that, like, you being here today and listening to this and actively looking for ways and praying for ways to implement things, like, it's going to happen. We just want to encourage you with that. God's intended for us to have thriving marriages, and that includes thriving sex lives. So here you go. We're going to throw some ideas your way. Okay. So number one is to go slow and up the foreplay. We recently had the privilege to talk to some amazing people and read some amazing books on this. And Neil and I have been going through Sheila Ray Gregoire's The Great Sex Rescue. That book is so good, and we keep just going back over it. It's so good. And she really epitomizes on the importance of understanding male and female sexuality, because they're different. And somehow within culture, different has been made out to be bad or wrong. And that is not the case at all. So I want to say that because a lot of times, just naturally, our own physiological response as women is typically we need to get a warm-up going to fully reach arousal and to reach that point where orgasm is achievable. And it's just so fascinating how it all works out together. And I think it's beautiful because it really causes husband and wife to work together really well and understanding one another, because it really comes an outpouring of love together, as you're working towards things with your own differences. God knew what he was doing in this. So
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a really good idea for you
Mm-hmm.
guys to just like maybe take it back a notch and be like, okay, let's really learn to just enjoy each other. What is it that really makes you tick? Exploring arousal. A lot of us women really struggle
Yeah.
with arousal. So really exploring what that looks like,
Oh,
having
for
those
sure.
conversations. Yeah, right? So go slow, really
Yeah.
enjoy foreplay, make it the main event, really, like really pour into that, because
Mm.
it's emotionally connecting, it's physically and sexually connecting, obviously, mentally connecting. There's just so many aspects there that can be really, really culminated out of foreplay. So that is our tip number one. And I think
Yeah.
that's such a game changer when you really full force pursue that.
So good. I love the idea of making it the main event. Like how often it's almost
Yeah.
like I know I can be guilty of almost like having
Yeah.
a countdown clock in the back of my mind. It's like, are we spending too much time on making out or touching, and we don't need to focus on that. Our focus needs
No.
to be on, hey, am I actually getting ready for this main event and to be intimate with my husband where my body
Mm.
is fully primed and fully ready to enjoy intimacy.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I feel like if you spend that extra time on the foreplay and the slow start, the build up, you're building up that anticipation, and it can only help. Like it can only help
Yes,
set things up for success. I feel like
absolutely.
because you're priming your body, right? You're getting in that mind space. You're turning the
Exactly.
music on. You're like lighting the candle, setting the mood, um, which all helps to the main event.
Yeah.
Well, after the other main event.
There's two main
So
events.
yeah, that's
We'll
right.
just make that very clear.
Yes.
It's clear as mud here.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
It's clear as mud
Let's
here.
switch that dynamic and that narrative. Yes, there can be
Yeah.
two main events.
Yeah.
So number 2 is to set up a mirror or open your eyes. So this is something that I don't know. I don't ever hear people really talk about. I guess
That's
maybe,
true.
I don't know. But to yeah, to put a mirror somewhere in a strategic spot so that you can see yourselves during lovemaking, um, I feel like would be a really simple way to spice things up. You'll see everything. It's like a completely different vantage point that you've probably never seen before.
Yeah.
Um, but can totally like get your mind right into what's going on because you see it. So have the lights on or set up the mirror, open your eyes while you're making love so you can kind of just like see what's going on, and it's just like another way to connect your mind to your body to know what's happening. And I feel like it'll be a way to like it'll instantly be like extra spicy because you can see yourself.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And I'm going to add one here, and that is bring it to a different location. So, shower sex or tub sex, those things, those just changing and getting out of the normal routine of, okay, it's 9 o'clock on Tuesday. I'm gonna throw the laundry off the bed and let's get to it. Just switching up what you are used to, your surroundings can really amplify your pleasure and can completely change the dynamic of the room whenever you're being intimate. So, taking it to the shower, taking it to the tub, just being open and exploring, and maybe you can't do, start to finish in the shower or the tub, but let it get started there. Just let things build in there and enjoy the natural, the steam building up. That's just I have to retalk all this.
That's okay.
But allow yourself to enjoy the steam that's building in the room from the shower and also between you and your spouse.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. So, another really fun idea, and I'm going to preface this with lovemaking doesn't always have to be this serious, steamy event, I think we can subconsciously put a lot of pressure on ourselves with that. Because performing is definitely something that a lot of us have to unlearn. And I think a lot of us don't even realize that that's kind of in us. Sheila also talks about that in her book, and it's really, really good. So make love fun. Bring it back to just genuinely being you two. You know, if you guys feel like pressure is something that you personally deal with in the bedroom, have that conversation, and try a game. So we interviewed Dan a little while ago, and he is the mastermind behind the app Intimately Us. And he has a bunch of really, really fun sex games on there. And it's a Christian app. If you guys don't have it, highly recommend it. It is very, very fun. So the games on there are fantastic. They are so clever, and they really are about bringing it back to enhancing fun and laughter between you, in obviously a very a very I don't want to use the word sexy because that's not really the appropriate word to use here. You're naked, obviously. So it can get quite interesting. So it's all about just keeping it fun and super real. And I think it's fantastic. It really helps you to let go of inhibitions and, you know, reach another level together. So definitely am a fan of embracing fun within the bedroom.
All right, and then for number 4, and this is from, we are just really riding the roller coaster of tooting the horn of Sheila Gregoire because we have just become such huge fans. It's just like an epiphany every time I read anything that she has written or done. Oh, yes. So she has she has recently wrote a blog, and she encourages husband and wife to sit down, each one another, and write down some ideas that you've had. Maybe you've had some thoughts of hey, this would be really fun one time. We need to try this, but then you forgot to bring it up, or life has gotten in the way. So take a moment, just pause for a beat, and each of you guys get a sheet of paper, write down a thing or two that you would like to do that might just add a little bit of extra oomph to it. So maybe it's music, maybe it is the changing location, a different position that you saw maybe featured that Alana shared on a hump day post. But don't show your spouse. And then what you do is you put it in a jar, tear up your little pieces, label them one by one, tear them up, put them in a jar, and then do like a date night roulette where you reach in, pull one out, and that night you guys complete the challenge or the spice it up encouragement that is on that piece of paper. And just every now and then, that's a great resource to have to go back to whenever you feel like, okay, things have gotten a little monotonous, things have gotten a little routine, and we want something extra fun and extra just playful or exciting tonight. You can go to the date night, the spice it up jar, and pluck one out of there and complete that task for the night. That is something super special, super easy that you can do, because we all have random thoughts, I think, where it's like, hey, we should try this. So just make it a point to jot it down in your notes in your phone or to write it down on a sheet of paper and stick it back for that jar.
Love that. And on that note, if you guys are hitting a slump and you're like, we're running out of ideas, first of all, good for you. Keep going. But secondly, we have put together 31 nights of intimacy ebook, and that is filled with 31 curated dates. So you guys can head over to our website, and you'll find that in there in our ebook section, and it's full of really beautiful date nights. Okay, I think another one that can go along with this really simply is looking back on, you know, the last time you made love that was just super, super epic and super, super meaningful to both of you, or one of you or the other. Look back on that and discover what it was that was such a turn on for you guys that night, or that time you made love, or that time you did X, Y, and Z. Reflecting on those really amazing intimate moments is really huge. First of all, just for mentality and your stance on pursuing a thriving sex life, but secondly, for getting to know yourself and your spouse better in your own sexuality. So go over what and why XYZ was so good. How can you recreate that? What can you do next? What were you doing that day that really filled into that really meaningful night? You know what I'm saying? That's such a great little thing you guys could implement to continue to heat things up in your marriage.
Yes, because we all have, I think we all have those, the ones that you store in your memory bank. That you're like, man,
Yes,
something
exactly.
about that night or something about that time. Oh, good. And it's like, okay, well, why don't we dig a little deeper into that? Let's think,
Yeah.
what did we do that cultivated that
Yeah.
moment and that time, that enjoyment? What do we do? That's so good. I love that.
Yeah, I think that's so good too.
And this was something that was brought up in a recent post where we were like, things you don't need. And somebody mentioned, I don't need fancy lingerie. And that's 100% true. But is that something super easy? We've got lingerie in that drawer that's been stuck back since the honeymoon, or since, it was our first anniversary and our husband bought it for us. So why don't we pull that out? Maybe it doesn't fit. Maybe you need to order some new. Maybe life has happened and you need to go up a size, but do it. Invest that little bit of money into yourself. Something that just takes you over the top where you feel like, I feel really good in this. Invest into yourself with that. Pull that out of the drawer, or if you're buying new, cut the tags off. And one night when your husband's getting out of the shower, be waiting on the bed in that new outfit, in lingerie, just waiting for him. And I guarantee you, he will be like, whoa.
Yeah.
Is it my birthday? What did I do? But, yes, just... did I miss something? Is it our anniversary? No. But yes, just that little thing. Most of us do have a drawer that's got some nicer pieces stuck back. So just pull those out and or wear them during the day. I know that that's something that has been mentioned before too, but wear them during the day just to keep yourself in the mindset and to get that anticipation building for yourself. Or you could flash your husband, a little corner of, something pretty or lacy that you've got on. I guarantee you that'll amp up the excitement for a while. So
I thought you were just going to end it at like flash your husband. I thought it was just like, just flash your husband. I thought that was like, that was it. But yeah. But something too, I'm thinking, because yes, like women can be doing that and that's a great idea for women, but what about the men, right? Like what can they be doing to like putting us in the mood? And I had seen this thing the other day, and so my husband works from home. He wears like the same sort of thing every single day. And I can see him getting his coffee. So this is great. But I had saw this thing where it was like, you see your husband every day, and then all of a sudden you see them in like, this girl, her husband was in a wedding party. And so she saw him in this like suit or this tux that he had rented. And she's like, oh my goodness, like you look so good. And I was like, heck yeah. Like, I don't know, take me on a date and like go all out and be fancy. And all of a sudden, like I come home from something and I see Jeff like all fancy. It'd be like, is it my birthday? What are we doing? Like, I feel like that's my own equivalent of lingerie on me for him. Be like me being like coming home and he'd be all dressed up, be like, we're going out. Like, woohoo. So I feel like there's definitely different takes on this.
yeah, mine would just be, hey babe, just flip your hat around backwards. He doesn't like to do that very often, but every time he does, I'm like, oh, you look so good with your hat on backwards. What is it about that? I don't know, but I'm just like, I'm going to look at you an extra second longer and just be like, you look good. You look good, babe.
Yeah. Yeah. Another super simple thing you could do, I mean, maybe it's not super simple. I take that back. Another thing you could attempt is to have sex during the day. I know it's super tricky. It's like, well, I've got kids or, teenagers, babies. How the heck am I supposed to try and do this during the day? But you can like be really sneaky about coordinating nap time. Everyone's having their quiet time. Even mommy and daddy are going to go have their quiet time. Like, I don't know. I feel like you could be intentional about it. Or you put on a show for your kids and then you go. Or if you don't have kids, just try it. Try doing it during the day. Something different. It's a fun way to like close the blinds or whatever. And be a fun way to spice it up. It's just something out of the norm. I feel like that's the thing. When sex can become routine and you feel like you're just, doing the same thing every time, just switching up anything, I find, can often be helpful in spicing things up. So I think just being aware of where you're at, whether you're, content with it being the same, and that's great, or if it's something you're like, let's try something different. Let's try something new. You make that jar, you pick something different, you try it out. If it doesn't work, that's fine. You've got your routine, normal, to go back on if you need to. And there's no shame in that.
Sure.
And just doing what you always do. That's great. Okay, here, I'll take this last one because we got an email, which I responded to today. We got an email from a follower who was like, I'm taking boudoir photos for my wife, but I don't want to, I want poses for her, but I don't want to look up online because I don't know what I'll find. Do you have any suggestions or resources? And I was like, the photographer in me was like,
yes, I do.
Let me help you. So I just so I just wrote out a bunch, I just typed them up for him. I was like, here are some things you could try. Try it on the bed, try leaning up against a wall, be on the couch, have her hands in her hair, kneeling on her bed, leaning back, but I was like, what a fun thing for you guys to be doing together. I was like, that's a great idea. So that's something you've never tried. You could go ahead and try that too, because I think that'd be really fun.
That would be so much fun. And of course, you're going to get excited whenever you're doing that.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a fun way, you get dressed up, get your hair, you get to do your face, do your makeup, whatever. And then afterwards, you can be like, well, now I'm all pretty. We got to go out somewhere because obviously I look stunning. So let's go. But yeah, I feel like that's a really fun way to add some spice. And like we said, it doesn't have to be fancy or complicated or, cause any stress. But I'd like to actually quickly touch before we close this episode. I'd love your guys' thoughts. How would, say, you're in a relationship and you're the couple who's you're the person in the couple who's like, I want to try something new. I want to do something different. But then how do they bring up that topic with their spouse? What are your guys' thoughts on that?
I'm a big advocate for letting the moment speak for you, because then it doesn't feel like you are coming out of nowhere, or they won't feel attacked. But just in the moment, maybe as things are heating up, just look at him and raise an eyebrow, or look at her and raise your eyebrow and say, hey, want to try this? Or why don't we do this today? Whenever things are already kind of, that excitement is building and you're in the moment, it's a lot easier to be like, yeah, let's do that. As opposed to if you're just, sitting over your bowl of Cheerios in the morning and someone's like, let's try a new position today. And you're like, whoa, what? You're like, hold on. So I think that just really exercising wisdom whenever it comes to the moment that you broach the subject is definitely a key factor. And also, the other person is probably going to be a lot more willing if they're excited and they're ramped up and they're like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Let's do that. So that would be my tip for this.
Yeah, I really like how Rusti went over that. And I think always being so keenly aware of your spouse in that, because obviously all of us are so vastly different. One person's going to take it different than the next. And just being very in tune with that with your spouse is huge. Knowing them, understanding them, being aware of their past, if they have triggers that could come up in that. I think all of that stuff is just so important to keep on the forefront of your mind. And then your spouse best too. Maybe a letter would be so romantic for them, and you write it out in a letter. You can get creative with it too. Maybe your spouse just loves to laugh. Make a funny video of you proposing this thing to do. I think creativity and just being very aware of sensitivity as well in bringing the topic up is very key.
Yeah. No, I love that. So before you try anything new, try anything different, maybe just even pray over yourself, over your marriage. And we're praying that your guys' marriages are blessed by adding a little bit of spice.
Hey friends, thank you so much for hanging with us today as we dive deeper into meaningful, godly intimacy, tackle the hard questions, and embrace truth while we're at it. We're also on Instagram. You can find our handle in the show notes alongside any resource links we mentioned in the show. As always, our hearts are to cultivate deep community and freedom with you guys. We are so honored to walk this journey alongside you. We'll see you in the next episode.